Welcome to Crown and Root Podcast. Hi, my name is Kelly, aka Darkstar, and I co create authentic branding and websites for spiritual entrepreneurs who want to feel empowered and grow their business. You can find me at darkstardesignstudio.com.
Hi, I'm Amy Sabatino. I'm a clairvoyant psychic medium. I offer spiritual services that provide clarity in a safe space for answering questions about the past, present, or future. To find out more, visit amysabatino.com.
So, today, I think we have a few different little things that we wanted to touch on, but this happened a few days ago for me, and I'm just going to jump right into it because there's no way to set it up, I guess, except to tell the little story and then tell the little epiphany that I had following it.
So
So
sit down. Be
yeah,
sure
so
that
sit
you're
down, listen. It's a little story. I should have written it, it would have sounded way better, but instead I'm gonna recount it verbally, which never works well for me. But anyway, so I was driving as I normally am, and I was driving down this kind of main road, and I got to an intersection where I had to turn left, but the main road has the right of way, so there are two intersecting streets that both have stop signs. But since I was turning left on one of the streets, I was stopped. There was a car on this stop to the street that I was about to turn on, who was waiting, to turn onto the main street. And so I was like, oh, I'll be nice. They were here before I was. I'll let them go before me. And so there was, after a few cars passed, there was more than enough space and time for both of us to go without feeling rushed or anything. So I waved this woman on, and I waved her on again because she didn't see me. And then I waved her on a third time, and she still didn't see me. And I was like, well, the space is getting smaller. I kind of have to go because there are people behind me waiting. So I turned, and as I turned, I looked at this woman, and she was just sitting at this stop sign, staring out her passenger window, and she was literally just twirling her hair. And I was looking at her and I was like, what? It was so the epiphany that I had was, and this was definitely a little bit of projection on my part. I was looking at this woman, and I was thinking to myself, I wonder if she ever gets the feeling nothing goes right for her, or nobody does nice things for her or whatever, because she's not present and aware. You know what I mean? And so I was looking at her being completely unaware of me trying to do a nice thing for her. And obviously I have no idea what she was thinking about. I have no idea what was going on in her life. Never saw her before and probably will never see her again. But it was it was almost like it brought me back to when I was younger and kind of had those feelings. And that's why I say it was a little bit of projection on my part of kind of those feelings of nothing goes my way or whatever. And I was always so busy thinking about things that didn't go my way, that now in the present I'm I wonder how many opportunities I missed because I was so busy creating this self-fulfilling prophecy of believing nothing good happened to me, therefore I missed all the good things happening to me. So that was the little epiphany I had of how many things do we miss, how many opportunities do we miss in our daily lives, not even big things, but literally just someone trying to let you go before them, because we're too busy in our own heads, in our own thought processes, in our own pattern, whatever it is. What?
in our own way. We are
Yeah, exactly. We are so in our own way a lot of time. And so that was what happened, and that's what I wanted to share today. And because I feel like both of us can very easily relate to that feeling, and maybe we can talk about things that help us stay more present and be more aware of when opportunities are kind of coming to us, you know?
Yes, absolutely. And I think, off that thread, I think, to me, it's like, I think sometimes when people are like, oh, I'm looking for signs, I'm looking for messages. And that's a perfect example of how a message or a sign could be there and you miss that. And I
Hmm.
think that we fall into a pattern where how they say our perception creates our reality, right?
Right.
So not only that, we are creatures of habit.
Yes.
So we fall into these patterns where we perceive things a certain way. And in that self-fulfilling prophecy, we therefore conceive it. It's almost like if you're looking for it, you will find it in that same
Right.
kind of regard. And I really, really do feel that, I think it was funny because when you were mentioning that story, one of the things that like came across to me was like, oh, well, I wonder if like, if this woman like was like having a bad day, kind of similar energy like you were, but I was like, she could have been like grieving someone. She could have been
Right.
realizing like she, had messed up. Like she could have been thinking a lot of thoughts and most of them I was wondering if they were of a more negative nature. And
Mhm.
and in that energy, it's like I really feel like for you, it was like you needed also to be able to see your kind gesture as like more of an energy rather than because sometimes we do kind things, right? But for a reciprocation.
Mm.
Sometimes the reciprocation is just a thank you, an acknowledgement, an awareness. But does that mean we should still not do good things?
Right.
And so even in that case of you waiting for her and waving her on and her not moving, I do feel that, you know, um that like a part of me wonders if like that's like its own kind of like lesson for you about the energy of kindness and how
Mm.
it's more of an energy because you were still kind to her in your thoughts after. You could have been like, hey, dumb, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Oh,
Right.
right? Like you could have you could have kicked it that way, right? But you didn't, You were like, "Oh, I wonder what like they're going through." You know?
Right.
Make them like completely unaware, at a stop sign, kind of
Hmm.
thing. And I
Yeah.
and I'm just like, "Okay." And so like, I feel like there's a lesson that for you in the sense of like what the energy of kindness really is and being able to give kindness but still hold kindness
Right.
even after, right? And so like that awareness I think is really, really kind of like special, I guess.
I
You
will say that, sorry, did you want to finish the thought? Okay. I will say that one of the things that I have been like actively working on for the past, I don't know, 5 or 6 years has been my perception of others while driving. And I know, and like I don't necessarily get road rage unless I'm stuck behind someone going below the speed limit. That for some reason really frustrates me. But I don't tend to be like an aggressive driver. I don't tend to be like, weaving in and out of traffic and honking I don't think I ever honk my horn
Well, I'm
unless
not gonna
someone.
lie, that's something I probably would have eventually have done. I would have been like honk, not like aggressively honk, but I would have honked and been like, hey, heads up,
Right.
because I usually
Yeah.
appreciate that if I'm ever distracted or something, I'm like, oh, I super appreciate when someone like
Right.
alerts me. Because otherwise, like, I don't know how many more people will be mad at me. Do you know what I
Right.
mean?
Well, I mean, I'll do it if the light has turned green and like they're
No one's
still not
moving. Yeah.
going,
Yes.
like I'll do it then. But so one of the things that I've been actively working on is like actually viewing people as people when driving, because when we're driving it is so easy to forget that there is another human being driving that car, right? Because A, we don't see them as clearly because of the windows or tints or whatever, and B, just because they're in a giant vehicle, and we tend to like get angry at the vehicle rather than like the person driving it sometimes. You know what I mean? Like if you're stuck behind someone slow, you're like, go faster Honda Accord or whatever, rather than.
Okay, personally, like I've been with some people who suffer from road rage, and it is not always that objectified, I promise you. Like we were talking like colorful language I probably shouldn't say here, but like it's usually very much associated at the person,
I mean, yeah, I guess it does depend on your
like,
level.
a gender, pick something in there. They're like,
Yeah.
blah, 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 whatever that people could grab. So,
But it's interesting though, because it almost has a similar energy, at least from my perspective, has a similar energy to like the anonymity of being online. You know what I mean?
yep.
Because like you don't know that person in that other car unless you do, but you probably don't, right? And like, so getting mad at them is almost easier because you don't know them,
Yep.
or like, saying, why aren't you going faster, you stupid whatever, or like whatever it is that you're getting frustrated about, it's much easier because it does feel like it has a similar energy to being online and just like the trolls online, and you know what I mean? But so one of the things that I've been working on is like whenever I catch myself doing that, and that's kind of the first step, is catching yourself when you're doing it, is I sit back and I go, I have no idea what this person is going through. I have no idea if they just lost someone. I have no idea if like their kid or whatever is sick and they're racing to get, like, I don't know what is going on in their life right in this moment. And so, unless they like are clearly intentionally trying to hurt someone, or like driving drunk, or something like that, that's not cool, and I'll call the cops. But like I in most cases, like, because I don't know what they're going through, how or why would I get angry or upset or frustrated or whatever, like they could have a very valid, I mean, they could just be an asshole, but they could also have a very valid reason for doing whatever they're doing. And so that's something that I've been really like working hard on, because I know that I do that. And so I'm trying to not do that, because I don't like putting that energy out there,
Absolutely. Yeah. You don't want that return to you.
Right.
And I think it's good to be conscientious, especially when out around people driving, whatever it be,
Oh
And
yeah.
remember, like the person on the phone, the person online, the person in the car, the person on the bus. These are all people who could be struggling or having their own story. And
Right.
a simple kindness at that moment could actually probably shift their day,
Right.
and,
Exactly.
and to also still hold that perspective afterwards. I think that's really a positive thing. I think it's really, really beautiful.
Yeah. And so that was something that happened to me, and just it was definitely one of those moments of, oh, this makes sense to me, like, especially, like I said, the kind of thinking back to when I was younger and how I was in that thought process cycle a lot. It was kind of like it was almost like a different type of like inner child healing in a way, you know what I mean? Like giving myself permission to understand where I was coming from at that time, and also seeing how far I've come since then, and
Yeah,
like being able to really see that growth and experience it, and realize that while I'm still human and I'm sure I miss many messages and signs that I'm supposed to notice, I'm at least doing better, I think
absolutely.
that's really cool.
I think growth is super important. And, I definitely think that, I don't know, like I said, like I think like it does, like the little things do matter. Like, it's still like that energy that you put forward, even though it didn't like necessarily come to anything for that person in that moment.
Right.
Like I still believe like it's important to put that out there. Cause like imagine like a different scenario where you were so angry that you ended up like bumpering somebody or something, right?
Right.
Because you were like, oh, finally, I'm gonna get around this person. You just zoomed
Right.
around them or something. Like, like it's good. Like you're right, you about not wanting that energy back. And I think like as we talk about energy, that kind of connection that our perception brings, the connection that our body brings, the connection that, kind of our soul brings into everything around us. I think like it becomes more easy to be more aware,
Mm-hmm.
and have kind of better boundaries too, because you could have just sat there all day also,
Right.
like that's
Yeah.
another direction it could have gone, right? You could have been so
Yep.
passive that like, do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like you waited on her, in that sense,
Mhm.
so it's good also that you had that direction too for yourself.
Right. Yeah,
Compassion
no,
and
that's
direction.
absolutely true.
I think that's a pretty damn good combo.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that, and it's so, I love when those kind of epiphanies or those kind of perspective shifts or whatever happen because of something that could definitely be described as like mundane or habitual, or you know what I mean? Like it was like I wasn't at a spiritual retreat and had that epiphany. I was literally like trying to get home like I do every day. But
I,
on this particular
yes.
day, for whatever reason, you know, this little tiny, event happened, but it sparked such a huge like aha moment for me. And I love that. I love when those aha moments come from such like simple situations and
I
experiences.
have one. I didn't even
Okay.
think about it, but you said a key word. I was like, oh my God. So as I was coming down here to do this, right? I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna, quickly take a break. I had been working. I'm like, gonna quickly take a break and then I'll come down and we can do this podcast, right? I grabbed some perfume. I was like, I need to shift my energy a little bit, shake it off. And with everything everywhere, I basically was like, all right, I'll just grab whatever I find first, like whatever my hand lands on. I just picked one up, right? Like I just, intuition just went with it. And I literally sprayed it and I was like, oh, what is this? Right. And I like kind of took a moment and it literally was called like Good Habits. And I like started to laugh because, as we're talking about this podcast, it's like, oh, I'd like to do this more consistently. We really should, and it's like good habits. And I'm like, in my head, I was like, I don't even care like what I think this fragrance is for. It is officially like for this. And if I don't
There
find
you
it, it's
go.
fine because I'm going to build good habits, right? Like we're going to like, and I was like, all right, I got the memo, guys. Thank you. Thank you.
Mhm. Mhm.
Like, and
Right?
so to me though, like it was very much like this kind of like epiphany of like, yes, that is essentially like, really, especially with the new year kind of new you energy out there, it's like very much this like, oh, well, how do I, you know, connect to these goals or these resolutions that I'm really setting forward to bring into my life and manifest or create or whatever, achieve. And, really what comes down to like one of the keystones is like a combination of determination or grit, whatever you want to call it, willpower and consistency, the
Mhm.
discipline,
Yeah.
to be
Oh, yeah.
disciplined and have that consistency and have that routine or that habit. And, and without that, you could have all the determination and will you want, but like you're not going to get to the level that you would with, that focus.
Right.
And so, like, I don't know. I really feel like, you know, whatever it is people are trying to bring into this new year, it's really like a positive energy, to remember like whatever intention that is, whatever that focus is, like try to do a little bit every day.
Mhm.
Like one of the things I thought you were gonna say, I thought, okay, for a moment, I was like, oh, okay, because you said like 5 to 6 years. I'm like, dude, I know something she's been working on for 5 or 6 years. I don't know the actual number of years, but I know it's been a while. I'm like, she's been really grinding on gratitude. You have been
I
grinding
have,
on gratitude.
yes.
And I was like, okay, is she grinding on gratitude? Is that what she's going to mention? Then when you mentioned the other thing, I was like, okay, yes, yes, I totally agree with you. But like the gratitude part was what I
I
thought you were going to say, actually. So when you
so
said that, I was like, oh,
funny
okay.
funny that you mentioned that, because along with like, I mean, that gratitude is still a part of me shifting my driving experience, because now, like, whenever I hit a green light or whenever I am able to very easily change lanes without like, waiting for someone or whatever, or whenever, something just goes smoothly for me while I'm driving, I always say thank you just to the universe. Just like, thank you for, letting me change lanes. Thank you for this green light. Thank you for, whatever. So, I mean, gratitude is just a huge, huge part of my life, no matter what I'm doing. But yes, absolutely when driving. I did also want to say, when you were talking about the new year and resolutions and stuff, I had a conversation, I think it was the day after Christmas, and we went to one of my mom's friend's house for dinner or whatever, and we were having a conversation about resolutions and things. And I said something in the moment that just came out, and I continued to sit with it. And for me personally, it is incredibly true. And I don't know if it's true for everyone, but for me personally, it is. And what I said was, because we were talking about intentions versus resolutions. And what I said was, I feel like resolutions focus on the end goal while intentions focus on the whole journey. And so after I said that, like, the people that we were with, like, that makes a lot of sense.
After I said that, victory pose.
Yeah, victory pose. Yes,
I like it.
No, but and so I kind of,
Because that shifts your perspective. One is
absolutely.
almost like it's owed to me, or I need to buy or get or somehow like fulfill this. And the other one is more in the state of presence of I am. I
Yes.
exist, I be, I breathe, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like
And
when you do that, like that's more in alignment to let things flow in and out. That's more in
yes,
alignment where it's not even just about being consciously aware, but like you're literally more in flow with the energy around you.
right. Yeah, and I think intentions are more open to invite manifestation in than resolutions are. Thinking about the connection between intention and manifestation, and like they are incredibly connected. And then thinking, because I mean, let's think about one of the most common resolutions that people make is to lose weight, right? Like that's got to be one of the most common, right? And so when you think about it as a resolution, it's I'm going to lose weight or X amount of pounds or whatever. But that doesn't really invite manifestation in, because it's keeping it in the future tense by saying I'm going to, and it also it also focuses more on the end goal of like losing weight rather than the intention of I am, I don't know, I am healthy, I am actively working on my health, you know what I mean, like I'm focusing on my health, or I am focusing on weight loss, or whatever it is that you want to focus on. Like it has such a different energy to it. And it got me thinking about like, how many people actually stick to their resolutions. I don't know if I've ever stuck to a single resolution in my life. And I'm sure there are some people who have,
Well, some of my resolutions I have, but like some of them, like it depends on what it is. Like there's moments, I guess I would say.
Right.
Like I might abandon it for 3 or 4 months. Like,
Right.
but at the end of the year, I feel like that I always try to like hustle it back real fast. I'm like, no, we're
Of
still
course you do.
doing it, and so like, why do you say it that way?
Because that's such a you thing to say. Hustle it back at the end. It's like like you start something and then you procrastinate until the very end to like complete it.
Good start,
Yes.
really muddy middle.
Yeah.
Excellent finish.
Yeah. But I mean, like I feel like that, like I'm sure I know that I do that with certain things too. And I'm sure a lot of people do. But like, yeah, it was one of the things where just the energy of the word resolution versus intention felt so different to me, and how I would be more geared towards setting intentions rather than making resolutions. if that makes sense.
No,
And
it
like I
does.
said,
I like, honestly, for me, it's like I realize, like, when I talk about like goals and like plans like that, like I always feel like it has to have an intention. And it
mhm,
has to come from a place that's authentic. And you really
mhm,
have to watch for surface. And like the
yeah,
weirdest place I can see this is actually in my planners. Because if I read back to from, like, let's say years back, like planners, like if I read back through any form of note keeping, journaling, anything, especially where it was like, okay, progress driven concepts.
mhm,
So not the poetry one and not the one that I drew a bunch
right,
of pictures and the other ones, right? And like I always find like I could see like some point I wrote some goals and
mhm,
I wrote some plans and I wrote some resolutions. And like as it progresses through the years, it's more intention and energy.
mhm,
Though I'm cautious about some energy because I'm like, yeah, I know we need to learn life lessons, but sometimes like, whew, like it's nice to
right,
breathe a little bit. So I do think that it's super important because like for me, a lot of them have carried over. And there was a point in time where that bummed me out. That bummed me out so hard. I remember like look at my old like planner, having the new one in front of me and being like, I am writing the exact same goals as
mhm,
the year prior. And I'm like, this hurts. Every letter, every line I felt in my soul. And I was just like, maybe this is the Capricorn movie. I don't know. But I just was like, okay, and I was like, I tried to look for progress. I did. I went back to the whole thing after that because it hurt so
mhm.
bad. I was like, no, we will review the year, and I
Oh my
did the thorough
goodness.
kind of review and looking back at it. And I found a few parts where I was like, okay, we found some improvement.
There
We
you
found some improvement, but we did not end gloriously. That was not a great year. And I
go.
and I distinctly remember being like, you know what, things happen. You can't plan for everything. We need to be in a place where our priorities had shifted. It's okay if that wasn't what we were focused on. We achieved many other things, but in that area, ooh, ooh, ooh. And
But
like
I think that's like
eventually,
a super
they get
important part
checked
of it.
off. What?
Yeah. But no, but I think that's a super important part of it too, is allowing yourself to understand that like setting a resolution or an intention or a goal or whatever for a year is such a long time. Like
Oh,
when
well, that's going to make everybody feel better right now if you say that, Cal. A year is a
well,
long time. You have a long time to work on this goal. Yes, but at the
no,
same time, you had a
no,
long time the
the
year
other
before that.
way,
So
the
let's
other
work
way. What
that.
I'm saying is it is such a long time to plan something because so many things can happen. You know what
Mm.
I That's where I was going with. I was not gonna be like, shame on you for not reaching your goal because you had
But
such a long time
but
to do
the way
it.
you said how long it was, you were like, because we just talked about not completing goals, and then you were like, a year is a long time. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like it's not salt on the,
No.
you
Would
know.
I say something like that? God,
I know.
I hope I've grown past that. But no, what I'm saying is there are so many things that happen in a
Yes.
year that we just cannot account for or even predict or
No.
whatever, right? Like there are like family situations, there's work you know what I mean? Like so many people lost their job during the pandemic, like so many people had so whatever. But it doesn't matter like if it's a pandemic or not. Like every year people experience life, and so allowing yourself the space to go, okay, this is my goal, or this is my intention, or this is my resolution, or whatever. But then also being able to have compassion for yourself if you don't meet that goal because your life just went in a totally different direction, you know? And that's the thing about the universe, right? Is like that is it. I mean, they say God works in mysterious ways, and a lot of the times it does. It's just like you may have a very specific idea of what you want your life to be like this year, but it could go completely on a totally different tangent, and you could end up in a completely different space than you expected to, and it could be better, it could be worse, it could be whatever. But like we do have to allow that to happen if it needs to happen. you know,
Yeah.
and we have to allow ourselves to have compassion for ourselves and understanding for ourselves and acceptance for ourselves when that happens. Because it's not that we failed to meet a goal, it's that we essentially shifted and went for a different goal.
Well, it's not even that you go for a different goal necessarily, but something else became more of a priority.
Yeah,
Kind of
exactly.
reminds me of the times where I've been like, oh, I'm struggling to get like this to-do list done, or I'm struggling to get certain things organized. And I look at it and it's like, oh, well, did you prioritize the time it takes for this and that and the other things that pop in? And it's
Hmm.
like, at the end of the day, yes, this could be something that's important to you, it could be something you want, but there is kind of God's timing, if you will.
Right.
That really comes from acceptance and being able to accept yourself,
Hmm.
and be able to say, okay, this is where I am,
Right.
and regardless of what I wanted to achieve, celebrate where you are. Victory pose.
Victory pose. Oh my god. Yay, victory pose. So, for those of you who don't know, which is pretty much all of you, because this is like an inside joke between Amy and me, the victory pose thing, it was very recently. Um, I think you were struggling to do something, or you had a lot of anxiety about doing something, and for whatever reason, my brain decided to go into like ADHD autism fact mode because
You
that's one of my
did.
special
I'm not gonna lie, you
interests.
started to quote like some Harvard
Yeah,
statistics or
I
something.
really did. It was I
Okay,
don't
I'm
know.
anxious. Okay, she's quoting Harvard statistics. Well, I'm not doing the statistics, so already I felt a little better. I was like, someone else is doing statistics, not me. So we're okay. We can get through this, So I'm listening. And
But I mean, I don't remember the exact
no,
statistics, but
no,
it was
you would do it again. I was like,
I'm
and
sorry. That was a one-time thing. I was in the zone. It happened. Could not remember it right now if I wanted to, which I want to and I can't. So,
it's okay.
anyway,
It's okay.
but so the victory pose, I was reading this article that basically said like if you're going into a job interview, hold like the victory pose, which is like having your your feet slightly apart and your arms like up in like a victory pose. I mean, we all know what a victory, you know what I mean? Like, yay.
It's Rocky at the top of the stairs.
What?
Rocky
Yes, exactly.
at the
Rocky at the
top of
top
the
of the
stairs.
stairs. Yes. That's perfect. Yes. And if you hold that for like 5 minutes or something before you go into the interview, the study basically showed that people who did that were more likely to get the job because they had more confidence and they felt better about themselves. And so when Amy was having anxiety, I was like, do that. And she did it. And she was like, I feel better. And I was like, it works. Yay.
It did. No, it honestly, like I felt like less, I don't know, it made me feel less, yeah, less anxious, I guess. I
Yeah.
really did kind of clear my mind a little bit, and I felt a little better, and I was able to go, okay, whatever it is I'm trying to do, I can do. And
Right.
it felt so
Exactly.
much better. And yeah, and that kind of reminds me though, like, going back to like the connection of mind, body, and soul, right? It kind
Hmm.
of reminds me of how like they talk about sacred hand positions, and they talk about like
Mm.
gestures, and they talk
Hmm.
about how certain ways to kind of channel bring in your own energy, and work with how your energy flows. And, for me, like as I was doing that victory pose, I was like, well, I do know that like I could feel like my spine, and I could feel
Hmm.
like kind of like my spine and like it flowing more. It felt like the spine would be maybe more stretched, and I could feel like more, I don't know, like spinal fluid, I don't know, kind of like moving around my back. Like, I don't know, but I could kind of feel that. And I was like, oh, okay, that feels kind of good. And it was like, and then I felt like just from like the shift of energy, because I think before I'm not sure, but like if I was guessing, if I was stressed, I probably had my hand to my face, or I was probably holding my head for a moment,
Hmm.
or doing one of those, because that's kind of like one of the things I do. And so I was just like, I was thinking about it. I was like, also like kind of like shifting that crouched over, kind of
Hmm.
like more like, I don't know, shoulders hunched body position that I
Right.
was very more likely in that moment. And and I really did feel like my energy shift, and that was exactly what I needed, because I needed to do something where I needed my energy to shift, and it was
Right.
hard for me to shift my own energy. And in that instance, it really does kind of feel that like we need to remember, yes, people talk about like take care of your body, work on your body, you know, like for health reasons, everything like that. But like there is more of a psychological and spiritual effect to how we sit, how we stand, how we move. You know, I was even thinking about handshakes, you know, and how hard you grip a hand or not, you know, like all those things.
Did you know, fun fact, that handshakes were originally used to show that you were unarmed?
Very nice. And that's exactly what you did last time. I stuffed about that.
I know, right?
Those.
Yes, one of my special interests is collecting fun facts and then never being able to recall them until it is brought up or some relevant topic is brought up in conversation.
No, that's
Yeah.
awesome. It's fine. It's totally, totally awesome. Like I said, advice well received and works. So yeah, if you're feeling anxious,
Mhm.
dude, but stand up. I did sitting down,
Yeah.
it still helped. But stand up and like hold it, like really
Yeah.
hold it. I don't know, set a timer. You
Yeah.
know, unless of course you feel lightheaded and sit down. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
obviously
I mean,
follow like
listen to your
general
body. Yes.
consensus, yeah, and
But
all those things. But yes, I would say victory pose because like I do think like just shifting your energy, shifting your body posture,
I
you
have another
know,
one.
go,
No,
go,
go
go.
ahead. Go ahead, finish.
No, no,
But
go,
I
go,
just have
go.
so this is not backed by a study, but I saw this online and I just thought of it, or I just remembered it. And it was one of those things where if you're like super angry and need to shift like into a more joyful or happier or just less angry state, say the word bubbles in the angriest voice you can. And I have yet to find anyone who can't laugh after doing that. So you're just like, bubbles.
Kelly, you're not supposed to scare the people. Okay.
I mean, because you're supposed to say it as angrily as you can. And it's just so funny. It's so
I
funny
don't
that it
know.
just, it like, it forces you to just like snap out of it, basically. So that's
What if
another
you
fun
really
fact.
didn't like bubbles?
What?
What if you had childhood trauma with bubbles?
I mean,
I
then
would
maybe
not
it does
advise
not
that.
work.
Yeah, do not do that. If this is triggered, I apologize. But
I
like,
mean, someone could also have trauma being strung up by their wrists, so I'm just saying, if we're bringing all sorts of trauma
all
into
right,
this.
do what is comfortable for you.
Exactly. Do what is right. Listen to your body. Do what's right for you. These are our suggestions. They are not medical advice.
Yes. You cannot be held liable.
Yes, exactly. But no, try saying bubbles angrily. Go ahead.
Know what's even better?
What?
If you're mad at somebody, say it to them.
Exactly.
Well, bubbles.
It's so hard not to laugh. Oh, it's so good. I love it. I love it so much. But Um, but yeah, no, so I think that basically kind of wrapping up this episode,
Oh man, say
just
bubbles.
yeah, I mean, spreading kindness is just always good, right? It's
And if you
just
can't,
and if you
say
and yeah,
bubbles.
and if you can't say bubble.
With a disclaimer here, she is not possessed. She's totally
I'm
fine.
not.
Like,
It's the funniest thing to me. Anyway,
and
spread
there's no sound
kindness.
over that. Okay, that
Yeah,
is her natural sound she has
it is.
created,
It
which is
is.
in bubbles.
I'm sorry for everyone listening to this. Um No, so spreading kindness, which is just, spread more kindness. And just, being more present, being more aware for, spreading kindness to others, but also allowing yourself to accept kindness from others, which I think
Mm.
some of us also struggle with too. Um, yeah, I wasn't pointing fingers. I'm just saying. I think some of us some of us have trouble accepting kindness. I think we both do, absolutely. Um, what else do we talk about? Victory pose, bubbles. Oh, resolutions and intentions. So if I guess yeah, if you're planning on making a resolution or setting an intention or, you know, writing down a goal or something,
Or already have and
or
are
already
working.
have, yes.
Obviously.
You know, go for it, right? Like make an honest effort, go for it, but also,
Try to put a system in place
yeah, try to put a
that
system in
works for
place.
you, not somebody else's system. Nah,
Right. Yes.
your own that works for you. Maybe you branch off of somebody's, but
Right.
adapt it to your lifestyle. Make sure
Exactly.
it's useful for your lifestyle.
Yeah, because I mean, if your goal is to lose weight and you, like me, are like sedentary basically, going to the gym every day for 4 hours a day is not gonna work. Like you're probably gonna end up in the hospital. So set realistic goals, I guess, that suit your lifestyle and how you want to change, but also allow that space for compassion and acceptance in case something veers you in a different direction. And then if you're feeling anxiety, victory pose.
Victory pose.
Victory pose. Yay, victory pose.
Well, I definitely feel that, overall, as far as, working toward, whatever it is, I think sometimes one of the things I think we forget about, sometimes people don't have goals or resolutions.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine too.
The only thing I would say, maybe set the intention of just being more grateful in your life.
Yeah. We can all always be more grateful and have more gratitude. I think that's just a wonderful thing to focus on.
When you're in the dark, try to find the light.
Yeah.
And with that, let's say Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
I don't know, like
Bubble.
victory pose.
Victory pose.
Good night to everyone. That is curtain call for us. So
Yes.
until the next time, work on that consistency, right? Good habits.
Yes. Good habits.
Intentions.
Good habits.
Let's hear it.
Good habits. Good habits. Thank you everyone so much for listening, and we'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.
Bye-bye.